This week's video is sponsored by United. United Airlines will make you wish the plane had crashed. Okay, semi-joking, but I am blaming delays on this video with United. It's a little hard to get scripts up and running when you're trying to chase down your luggage all over the continental United States. Today we're going to look at Season 13 as a whole. First things first, I know I had some outstanding questions waiting for either the transcripts to go up or for the season to be on Netflix to double check. I can't remember what one of those is, but I do know one of them was in my 1321 review. I questioned if the angel roofie used on Lucifer was previously used to make Gabriel fall asleep. Nope. Not as far as we can tell. In the episodes 1320, Sam asks Gabe to skip to the end, and then we see him asleep in bed with a bunch of women. It looks pretty clear from the framing of the scene that he is supposed to have fallen asleep after lots of sexy time, not because he was roofied, since in the episode 1321, we see that the roofie works pretty quickly on Lucifer. Had Gabe been drugged in episode 1320, some of the women in that bed would have left disappointed. Now, over the years, Supernatural has gotten a bit of a reputation of, I'll call it, premiere swerves. It really started where Season 2 closed out promising a possible demonic war on Earth, only for Season 3 to end up dealing with random new girls and Lilith. Season 6 promised us a God mode Castiel, only for Season 7 to deal with Leviathans. This time, Season 12, it only really promised us Lucifer's child, but it didn't promise whether he would be friend or foe. Now, I'd been doing text reviews for a while before trying my hand at videos, and repeatedly for several episodes of late, I have been saying that it was really time for the boys to become mentors. The family needed to expand to include children. This season seems to have proven me right, as the breakout star really ended up being Jack. While he could push the cringe factor just a little bit, it wasn't too bad, and it was explainable based upon him being born yesterday, and by season's end, they'd really smoothed him out and established the kid as a worthwhile character. And his interactions with Sam, Dean, and Cass were some of the best parts of an episode, and the season as a whole. Part of me is actually hoping after Lucifer's trek, next season we'll get kind of a mortal Jack who won't really break plots, but still give the boys an opportunity to grow and move in new directions. This season also had a new spin-off attempt. Consider me heartbroken. And not just because I won't get to see Donna gunslinging anymore. The worst of it is that this time I have to say that the writers really seem to do things right as far as one could conceivably do for a spin-off. The plots and character introductions weren't too awful or heavy-handed in their execution, though I still hate that Missouri ended up dying, but rather they took advantage of the Monster of the Week format to lay down new parts of the foundation for the spin-off, introducing new characters and why we should care about them. I always favor any effort that doesn't waste our time, and even better, the spin-off still felt like it took place in the same general universe of the original show. Unlike Bloodlines. Yeah, was it perfect? By no means. There were some missteps here and there, but Supernatural had more than its fair share of mistakes in its first season as well. That doesn't mean that the spin-off couldn't grow and become something great. As of the time of this recording, the news is that the network will not be picking up Wayward Sisters for airing, but I do have some hope, and I support the fan demand that maybe it could be a miniseries on Netflix or CW Seed or some other alternative. I think this show would probably definitely work best with a shorter seasons, making the plots tighter, more focused than the full 20 plus episodes that the current show is saddled with. Then we have the rest of the season. So let me explain this concept I've called the butterfly scale, after the sci-fi time traveling trope. Basically, it's kind of a way to measure how impactful and important something is to a story. The way it works is you take something that's in the show and then change something about it. Just alter it a little. How much else do you have to alter to maintain the story or have things remain sensible? For an example of two ends of this scale. Imagine we change Sam's name. Hit Control-H on the scripts and just do a mass find replace. What changes? Well, pretty much nothing, save that we would have to change his grandfather's name as well, since the implication in the show is that Sam was named after him. So the importance of this character's name is very, very low on the scale. Now, Imagine we changed Sam and Dean being brothers. What would we have to alter then? Pretty much everything. We'd have to alter whole sections of episodes, entire season's arc, to make whatever new dynamic we have with these two fit. In this instance, the importance is very, very high on the scale. You can pretty much even use this to prove that it's the most important thing in the entire series, since it affects nearly everything. The negatives on this scale would be when things would either improve or make more sense if they were altered or removed. It's kind of on that end of the scale we find Asmodeus. This was a disappointment. I'll be honest. The revelation of the other princes of hell existing, I had previously praised in my review of episode 1212, Stuck in the Middle with You, as brilliant and fitting in quite well with the canon. Ramiel was fascinating in his one-note appearance and seemed to promise a new complicating enemy that Crowley had stirred up. Dagon was okay, though she made a mockery of Joseph, an angel that deserved more time in the limelight. Asmodeus, showing that he could alter his appearance, I thought maybe we would see a kind of totally evil version of Crowley. Someone that could be kind of a wicked foil for the Winchesters, yet in the end, he did nothing. Go ahead, use the butterfly scale. Imagine we just took him out of the season. Or even just replace him with Crowley. What would change? Almost nothing, save we'd have to remove a few scenes that don't contribute to the season anyway. He did so little that when the finale performed their season-long recap, he appeared exactly once. Go double check on Netflix. The guy could have been a single monster of the week for all the difference it would have made. The most impact he had was to take Castiel and Lucifer out of play for a bit so they wouldn't affect some plots. I mean, when a late bus can replace your character, the character sucks. His only other contribution was to provide some faint excuse for Gabriel to return. A return that ultimately also ranks a 0 on the butterfly scale. He's barely visible in the season recap. There was one episode he provided for the season, but did it matter? No! In the end, Gabriel just repeated what he did before, standing up to one of his brothers to help the Winchesters and end up dying. I mean, unless he didn't. Who can tell or even really care anymore? The thing is, both of these characters could have mattered more. They could have been larger butterflies. Just imagine if both of these characters were escapees from the apocalypse world. What if Gabriel had been wounded and tortured by the bad Michael, and Asmodeus, okay, we can change the name, but what if he was a servant of Michael, came to the main supernatural universe at the end of last season chasing after Gabe? I mean, heck, what if that servant was evil Castiel? Then this season could have gone in interesting directions, as evil Cass helps out the boys, perhaps by sometimes pretending to be good Cass. But the reason would be because he wants to open a rift too. It's been a while since the show has had a villain that wants the same thing as the heroes, but for a different reason. Gabe, being a traumatized survivor from the other world, would have given the boys a chance at the whole saving people effort. We could have had a chance at remembering the original Gabriel, with the boys explaining the arc of that version we knew to this new version. A different viewing of him could have given us insights into the Gabe we used to know, which we didn't know much about him, and it could have paid off beautifully with a bittersweet character arc when this new Gabe ends up repeating the actions of the one we knew when he stands up to his older brother again. Instead, we just get more of the same guy we used to know. A repeat of something we'd already seen. Part of what I love about fantasy and sci-fi stories is it gives us an opportunity to look at and consider things in a new perspective. Part of why I love Kripke's finale Swan Song so much is because it gives us a new appreciation of the power of home and family and love. The use of alternate worlds in these fiction stories is often a chance to consider how much we are our circumstances. An evil alternate Castiel shouldn't be a silly cartoon character, but an examination of the man he might have been had our boys never pulled him to humanity's side. The alt Gabriel could have shown the viewers at least why the one we knew was so intent on hiding and avoiding his brothers. This season had the chance for some of the strongest possible storytelling the show has had since, I'd estimate, season 7, and they wasted it on Colonel Sanders and Kripke taunting. So let's just talk the showrunners in general and the seasons as a whole. Kripke, just about perfect and is our gold standard. Okay, maybe not quite, but he sets the bar very high. Say what you will, but Gamble for season 6 and 7, it was interesting the way she would innovate while keeping things still plausible and logical with the series and world as a whole. Her probably biggest flaw is that her ambition would outstrip her budget. Carver is one who just seemed to like to toss out ideas without ever thinking about what they mean or how they would pay off or even fit within the universe. I mean, season 8, his first, was in my opinion probably his best year creatively and in execution, but the rest were just generally misses. Deb now seems like kind of a hybrid or love child between Gamble and Carver. He'll come up with interesting ideas that could work in canon and be plausible, but then he fails to really follow through on them. I don't know how behind the scenes politics works on the show, but it seems obvious that Deb lets the writers run loose without reining them in to maintain a coherent vision. Season 12 had the potential for a fascinating debate about proper and ethical methods in hunting, with what could have been a powerful intersection and payoff with the debate over a preborn Jack, but it never took advantage of that intersection, and the season was kind of spoiled by oversimplifying things when they made the British men of letters cartoonishly evil. Season 13 had two very powerful themes set up as well: what it means to raise a child, and how our choices make us who we are. Had those two themes come together, using the dark alternate versions of characters we know and love to examine how Jack might grow into a force for good or evil himself, could have made this season really great and given us one of the most emotionally powerful season finales since Swan Song. Instead, we got Mark and Jensen flying around on wires. So in the end, season 13 is ultimately good enough to be disappointing.